$64,000 question. Can you tell us who your goalie is?
I'm going to talk to Clark at 6 p.m.
No.
It's Seeloff tonight. It's Seeloff.
What about Petey? I know you guys had a bit of a flu running through the building. Is it any concern?
No, I think he's fine. You know, I know some people are speculating we're hiding an injury. He had illness. We don't lie here. So for you guys that want to make it he's got a broken wrist or a broken back, he doesn't. He's just a little sick. So that's it.
How much more do you need from him offensively?
Well, I mean, obviously this is a big series. There's 8 teams left. He's a big factor for us. Hopefully, especially at home, we'll get him in some good situations on the ice. So hopefully he can take advantage of it.
Rick, you've had a chance to examine what Edmonton does so well. What's the biggest challenge for your team going into this series?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, not to build them up too much because they're a hell of a team. There's some strengths that they have that we have to make sure that we're clean on. They're very good at attacking. They're good. They're one of the better teams at taking the puck to the net. They're underrated when it comes to everybody talks about star power and this tic-tac-toes, but to me, the net front for them on offensively, I think they're one of the best teams at getting the net. Not just, Hyman's one of the best. Even Connor, even Perry, they have a lot of guys that hang around the net and go to the net when you beat pressure. So we got to be really stingy in front of our net.
So this Edmonton team has a lot of playoff experience. It's kind of seen that they've had enough experience now. It's their time to go for it. The rest of the NHL kind of looked at the Canucks this year as a team that maybe they just get this playoff experience. That's not the way you guys look at it, though, is it?
No, I don't feel like, I've heard it before. Well, they got to go through the losing for that. I don't believe in that. I think, those 6 games against Nashville, it was a tough series. We tried hard, and Nashville's a good team. And we won. So I think we're going into this situation the same thing where, playoff experience, I think a guy like Hoglander, I thought his game, from the first game to the 6th game, that's good experience for him. I think that's going to help him for this series, being more calmer and playing his game. So that's experience right there. So, that's the way I look at it.
Is there something frustrating or motivating about being seen as the underdog going into this series, even though you guys finished first in the Pacific?
No, I don't. No, I don't care whether people pick or not. I mean, that's the business we're in. I was on the other side. People ask your opinion, but I think if we felt we were at the start of the year underdogs and we're not this and that, I don't think we'd be in the position we are. I think guys, came into the season like, hey, we're a good hockey team, and that's the way we approach it. We don't approach it at the start of the year, hey, we're underdogs. Nobody expects to make the playoffs. I don't think I heard any of our players say that in training camp.
Rick, what's the confidence level in the penalty kill after what you guys did in the first series, and especially with a challenge like the Oilers' power play in the second round?
I think the last month, 6 weeks, I think has been we're in a steady. I think the system and just the details that we cleaned up, I think we're better at clearing pucks than we were 6 weeks ago. I think that's going to help, hopefully, against these guys. We make sure if we get a puck, we got to get it down. Knock off 25 seconds on their power play. But, yeah, the confidence is there. I think we're a confident group.
There's been a lot of talk about structure in the system, and all that applies to the penalty kill, I guess, as well. But I'm curious, with the way that the Oilers attack, is it more about hockey instincts and just changing up a couple things on the penalty kill against them?
Well, they have, whether it's set plays or not, I think they're a concept team. They have 3 or 4 things that they do really well. I don't think they have a huge playbook. They're just good at what they do. So it's important that we know that what their looks are, where we want to be in these situations. Who do we want to have the puck in the less dangerous situation, because they're going to get their looks. And like I said, if you over pursue, they attack. They're one of the better, probably the best team in Colorado. If they beat pressure, they're taking it to the net. There's none of this like, oh, let's do this play and stuff. They play road hockey after that. Then they just take it to the net, or whoever's open, they give it to and they attack.
Rick, you've got 10 playoff newbies.
Yeah.
One of the intangibles in the playoffs, one of the things you can't draw up on the whiteboard is not only when push comes to shove, but when so-called villains in the game accidentally on purpose maybe run your goalie or try
Yeah.
to get under your guys, how can you guard against that as a coach? I mean, there's nothing you can go to the playbook for, but it is an intangible part of postseason play. How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, I think it's just, every game, every playoff game you play, you gain experience. You figure it out. Obviously, the coach staff has to help the players, but there's certain times where it just organically happens. There's some players that are really experienced, have tricks of the trade. Hopefully, some of our guys learn from that, and you better be a fast learner. That's the way you got to look at it.
Rick, you're going to have last change games 1 and 2. How do you approach or think about matching up with Connor, knowing, of course, that it's not just going to be on one center?
Yeah, I don't think it's one line. I think it's a committee. Obviously the D too. I don't think you can just say, hey, it's this line. I think there's going to be a multiple of lines that have to do the job against him and Draisaitl. And their depths, their depths the last couple of years, they can score too. They're good too. So, it's a committee thing. It's awareness. It's puck management. It's all that stuff. But each line, you might have a different line against them, and we have the same message.
Both of these teams are constructed with a ton of size on the back end.
Yeah.
How does that impact your thinking about what to expect stylistically in this series?
Yeah, well, we're not like I said, we're not a pretty group in the sense, but we defend really well, and that's our bread and butter. But that doesn't mean we sit back. We're not going to play a 1-4 against these guys. We're not just going to, have 3 guys in front of that and block shots all night. We want to be aggressive, but we watch a lot of video, and I like the way we defend. I really do. I think it's something that will help us against this team.
Rick, Nikita Zadorov was saying that when it comes to Artur Silovs, it's not so much a matter of the defense giving him confidence, that he gives them confidence. What have you seen from him that's allowed him to give that kind of confidence in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, for me, is after the initial save, he's in position for the second save. That's when I look at goalies, that's if you look at the top goalies, they make that initial save, and you look, and they're there for the second save. They're not on their back. They're not flipping and flopping. I think he's got that, that knack of being there for the second save. That's what I think where the defense really, or the players really have confidence in him.
And in talking to people in Abbotsford yesterday, they were saying, watching him, it's an example of not only like, hey, this is how you get to the NHL, but this is how you can be counted upon. Like, what do you think it does for an organization to go a little bit big picture, just to see how a guy like that can not only fit in, but it says like everybody plays a part, especially when you do need guys this time of the year?
Yeah, no, it's Patrick O'Lean talks about this all the time, our GM, about next man up. It's true. Who would have thought Artie, our third goalie, was going to play in the playoffs? It's funny. I was just talking to Niels Almond. He's really worked hard. He's not playing, but he could play, and he's got to be ready. That's just the mentality. That's an organizational attitude. You got to have. It's not poor as me or this guy's out. And I think the smell around, or the flavor around here is next man up. We don't we don't have this. This guy's hurting or whatever. We just go, hey, next man up, let's go. I think you have to have that attitude if you want to go far.
Rick, do you think you'll have to score more in this series than you did against Nashville? Can you grind out the same kind of 2-1 games that you did 4 times as you did against the Preds?
Well, I don't know if 13 goals is going to get it done this series, but we're comfortable playing a 2-1 game. We are, and I think we've learned that over the year of being comfortable playing those games. We talked about this as a group ad nauseum about if it's a low event game, don't panic. It's okay, and I think that helps us, in the playoffs. That definitely has helped us. We didn't panic, even though I think we had 12 or 13 shots that one game. We weren't looking at the shot clock in the third period. Like we were like, oh my God, we got to get shots on that. We were just like, hey, just move the game along, and we have a chance. Let's score.
And to that end, much has been made of the regular season. Does the late result in the regular season and the type of game that was, basically a 2-1 game with an empty netter, does it show you a blueprint at all, or is that tossed out the window because no McDavid and it's the playoffs?
I mean, whether it's McDavid, I don't take stock in these. Listen, we need those 8 points to win the division. That's great, but game at 7 o'clock means nothing. And our players say the same thing, you know. But playing those games has given some guys confidence to spring. You know, some guys had some good years. I think that first month of beating an Oiler team has helped the confidence of the group. But I don't think it helps anything right now. No, I don't.
You talk about what you guys can do. What's the checklist that you're looking for? You know, at the first intermission, at the second intermission, what are you looking for you guys to be doing?
Well, I'd like to hold pucks. I don't think we can throw pucks away. Number one, and I don't think we can just like talk about defense. Like, you know, we got attack. You know, Edmonton makes a mistake, or you know, we can't just send one forechecker and have four guys back. We got to press the envelope, but we just got to make sure that when there's separation plays that we're in good spots. But when there's battles, we need five we need five in there. We don't need two guys and three guys back. You're not going to win that way against Edmonton.
And we've talked a lot about McDavid, but you've got a game breaker in Quinn Hughes. What's the challenge for him? What have you set in front of him for this series?
Well, it's no different than them game planning him. You know, he's played well against Edmonton. He's had some really good looks against that team. So I'm sure, you know, when he's on the ice, you know, they got to be on guard. Maybe they can't be as aggressive, because if you're aggressive against Huggy or Quinn, he'll make you pay. So it's no different than our attitude toward their players. We have a game breaker in ourselves.
There's definitely different.
Amber alert.
You zoom in, you keep zooming in until you can't zoom in anymore.
I'm venture.
No, the Oilers are ready.
Generational talent.
Thanks for liking the video and subscribing.